So we're back here one week, gone the next, here another week, gone the next, all this other fun stuff. But welcome everyone to Footprints Forward, where we are working to try to help people come up with solutions to the contemplation of suicide or mental health issues. What we're trying to do is just give people a chance to realize that there are other people out there who have had like situations and maybe some suggestions on where to go. We have a great guest today that we're going to be bringing on. I met Chris a couple weeks ago, and through a couple interviews with her and a couple introductions with her, I really felt that her story was going to do us a lot of good because, you know, every single one of us has been through difficult relationship splits, and I mean, this doesn't exactly even have to mean uh you know uh it doesn't even have to be like love relationships, different times, different kinds of relationships. It's been difficult when we leave those. And so Chris has got a story that she's going to be talking to us about. I asked her if she was willing to come on, and she said by all means. And she's got a very, very special message and a special she's got a very special work uh, um, program that can help out people who are going through difficult relationships. Joining me today in the family room here, we've got Miss Stephanie Samos. How you doing, Steph?
That mute button. I'm doing well, Zach. How are you? I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here. Excited to hear from Chris.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's a wonderful, it's a terrible story, but it's a wonderful victory on what she's done. So
This is my
we'll
first time meeting her, so I'm
yeah.
excited.
So, yep. And we'll be getting to her just real quick. Stephanie, why don't you tell us about what you got going on with $10 million?
Yes, we just celebrated the $10 million mark of donations. So if you're watching for the first time, my name is Stephanie Samos. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And when you pour a glass of wine or send a gift, it's really just a great feeling to know that that bottle made an impact for a nonprofit organization that's important to you. You actually get to choose where that donation is going. Zach and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. Zach always says, you don't want to say, I wish I heard this sooner, right? So that's our mission, to really get their message out to more people and assist them with their fundraising. So I am also the co-founder of New Heights Homestead. We are traveling 580 miles with our 5 children and our animals to build a mountaintop homestead from the ground up. So if you are curious about topics like homesteading, off-grid living, animals, more natural living topics, growing food, you can follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel and come on the journey with us. Through
I think
PMS Properties, as you know, Zach, we're also taking our mission with investing in real estate to create veteran housing down with us on that move. So
yeah, and there's so much more than just the veteran housing. There's going to be organic food growth and a little bit of farming and other things that you're planning on doing. I think it's wonderful, and I just can't wait till you guys get started. I know that you're itching to get started, even though it's going to be a lot of work. So,
in 13 years in the making, I'm just excited. I'm
yeah.
excited for all the work. I feel like it's just going to be a journey that I can't wait to share and spread some love to the community too at the same time.
Well, I know it's going to be a new mission, new journey, and it's definitely going to be an adjustment internet wise. We've already experienced that. Hopefully we can get that. Hopefully they can get that figured out up there in the mountains, and
Yeah,
We won't lose you too much. And by the way, on the $10 million, I've got to give you the one-handed clap right now. I don't have the other hand. I can do
Thank
that.
you.
So it's the one-handed clap. I love hearing that. So we're well on our way to trying to get to 11 million.
We are. And don't move that other arm.
I had to go and for the new foster child, we had to go and try to give fingerprints today, and I went in there and I had to take off my sling, and so I'm sitting there and took off the sling and I'm like going, oh, it really was not a lot of fun. I'm telling you right now, it was not a lot of fun, but I was going to do it, and then get the sling off, go. They get the right hand done, and they said, "Oh, we're not going to touch your left arm." And I'm like, "You couldn't have told me that before I took the sling off." Okay, so I'm sitting there trying to get the gut sling, and I've got one hell of a gut to put that wrap around. So I'm sitting there doing this hula hoop, trying to swing thing, and it.
I could almost feel it as you're talking about it.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're all right.
what's the term? One-armed drywaller or whatever. That's what it really felt like there. So, but welcome, Stephanie, and we're really glad that you're here. We're also being joined by Dennis Schroeder, the founder of Price of Freedom Foundation. Hey, Dennis, I know that we talk about Price of Freedom all the time. Why don't you tell us about your new venture that you're training on right now? Let's start. Let's go with that, and that way we can try to spread the message, because I know that we played the interview a couple times throughout the weekend.
Okay. Well, I'm not. I have my fingers in a lot of different pots here, so I'm not really sure which one you're referring to, because I do photography and I do some business consultation. And
the business consultation,
Okay.
the one, yeah.
All right, super. Well, basically, what I do is I have partnered with a group that specializes in very specific niches to help businesses to be able to save money in their operations. Things that we're not experts in. I ran a small business years ago, and as a business owner, you really have to be everything. You have to know, at least be competent in all areas. Well, that really helps if you can have a specialist in certain things. So one of the groups that I'm affiliated with is specializes in tax strategies, and they've been doing this for 20 some years. And basically, we've got a way for a business owner that employs at least one person to have strategies that will help them with tax credits that they either may not know about, or if they know about them, they may have tried them before and not been able to do them successfully. Well, if you have an expert on your side that can take care of that for you, and you pay a small amount out of what they actually get for you in terms of a tax savings, why not? So that's just it in a nutshell there. And folks can reach out to me in any fashion if they want to get more information about that.
Yeah, Dennis, and it's one of those ways, and I'm sorry about this, folks. All of a sudden, my eyes started burning. I don't know what happened there, but I so I'm just sitting here wiping away. I think the little peppers on that chili commercial. I think maybe I got some of it in my eye, some of the chili juice in my eye or something. That's kind of what it feels like right now. So. Which would be ridiculous since they were cartoon, but it can happen. But Dennis, with your program, nobody pays up front. It only matters when they get you money back, correct?
Well, I can't say that about all the programs, but that is the vast majority of them. So, and it's basically you're not asked to commit to something that is going to cost you a bunch, and with the hope that you're going to get a return. I wouldn't have affiliated myself with anything like that, because it's like, these are all things that when I was a business owner, it's like, I wish I would have had these
Yeah.
available to me at that time, because it would have helped.
Yep. That's for sure.
Hmm.
And back from his walkabout, and then as soon as he gets back from the walkabout, he falls ill. So back from the man of mystery, the man of many miles under his belt, Mr. Patrick Myers. How you doing, Patrick?
Pretty good, man. I think I'm back behind out in that country, bro. Like I came back and it was just like it was that was probably one of the most fun things I've done in a long time for myself. Sir saw turkeys the size of velociraptors out there, man. I didn't know turkeys got that daggone big, man. I was in my tent, man, and there's like a whole, like, I don't, what do you call them? A flock of turkeys, herd of turkeys? I don't know what you call them things, man, but it sounded like a whole bunch of people walking through the woods. And I looked out my tent window, and them jokers are about, like, they come up to, like, up to my side up here. Them things are massive. And then I didn't know. I had no freaking clue, man. But it's a great time. Um, well, so I'm the founder of Akash Global, man, and right now, we're just oh man, we got just so much going on right now that it's just that has been a real blessing as far as things moving forward. So right now we're doing the Pit podcast. We'll be doing that in about 2 hours after that, and it's growing, and the content's getting better, because when we first started, we were terrible. We were terrible at it, and it's just getting better, and the response of men and stuff like that, just it's a blessing, because, like, you know it started from a conversation on at a table, and now it's an actual thing that's actually having true impact, and just honored to be able to do that. And then right now, we was calling it's the Youth Initiative. The 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 name for the global project, but the one that we're doing locally, the kids took ownership of it and want to rename it, and they call it the Roots now. And um, and started off for like the first month with just me sitting there and nobody showing up, and then one kid came, a couple kids came, and now we have about 7 or 8, with about 3 or 4 more talking about they're trying to work with their schedules, because they work on a lot of kids work on weekends, and they want to come and be a part of this right now. And then it's actually um, we're talking about actually rolling some things out in Africa and the Philippines. So that's happening right now.
Wow.
And so with the Roots program, or the Youth Initiative, we're gonna actually probably have to have a conversation about having the kids come on and talk about, like, what they're going through, and the stuff that they've been through, and what the program's all about. It's better for them to talk about it than for me to constantly keep saying, hey, this is helping the kids and whatnot. Um, See what it is from their perspective. When we first started out, you asked the kids, "Hey, what is it that you want to be, or what do you want to do, or what is your vision for your life?" And they're just like, "Oh, I want to be a manager where I'm at," and like, it's very, very, very short term as far as the vision. And then so we started giving them the tools and the um, um, and talking about those thought processes, and getting them to see that the impact that they can have right now. And now they're like, I want to own my business. I want to own this an art studio and a business, and stuff like that. And one kid's like, I want to be a real estate agent. One's going into the Space Force actually this month. I'm gonna miss that guy. Another one's like, I want to. You met this kid, Justice.
Yeah.
He wants to start a program where he can link different nonprofits together, so that they can learn how to thrive together. Because what happens with a lot of nonprofits, we're all trying to get the same money from the same pot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually, what he's thinking is more beneficial to actually figure out a way to where we could work together and we could support ourselves, because and that's how you keep them. You don't have to depend on government. You have to depend on donations, like it's a self-healing kind of program. And so this teenager is like working these things out. And so that's a
It's
youth initiative right now. And so like we're trying to right now get up the funds so we can start to get this thing into a 501c3 so we can start taking donations and getting more support from around the country. And as we build these programs out, to get other nonprofits to actually join together so we can make this happen. So
well,
that's
I
what's
think it's
happening right now.
I think it's great. You know what? You can point a kid and tell him, look, there's the direction. What do you want to do? And let him go. And tell him, look, everything is possible. The only thing that's not possible is what you don't try. I mean, if you don't try, it's not possible. So I think it's great, and of course we're proud to support you in any way that we can. So, but welcome back, Patrick. It's great to see you.
Good to be
Diamond,
back, man.
Diamond, you're back. New hairstyle, still same beautiful woman. How are you doing, sweetie?
Thank you. I am doing awesome. I'm just glad to be here, catching up on what Patrick's doing. I got to come in on a little bit of that. But yeah, how are you?
We're just getting started. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to bring on Chris.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. A little bit about me. I am a business resilience coach, and I get to wake up every day and help other business owners, especially coaches, figure out how they're going to move the needle forward in their business. And I do that by helping them with tech and mindset and all of the other things that don't sound fun, but I make it fun. So.
Tell us, why don't you do me a favor and tell us about an email I got today about tomorrow's yoga?
Yes. So one of the things that we do in the community, and thank you for letting me know that you got that email. I did change it. It's on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. now, but it started as something that I knew that I wanted to do because as we age, if we don't move our bodies don't move with us. So I wanted to just do something that was good for my body and encourage other people to do the same. But I found that it was a little bit more difficult getting people up at 8 o'clock in the morning for it. So I have since changed it. I listen to the people. It's not a dictatorship. It's a democracy in the community. So we're moving it to noon on Wednesdays. So that way it can be more of a thing where like you're already up, you're already working. You know that you should take a break from the computer and like stretch your legs and things. So this will be an opportunity for people to be able to do that. But it's good for your body. We got to move them or else we're going to lose.
Yeah. You know, you say that, Diamond, but it seems to me like every time I do move my body, that's when my body breaks. So, but I look forward to joining you at some period in time. So, all right. Well, I welcome the family. It's great to see you guys again. It was a long week without you guys. And I greatly appreciate everything that you guys, all the well wishes and everything that you guys sent to me. But now we're going to bring on Chris Aaron. Chris, as I said, I met with her probably about 2 weeks ago, right, Chris? I think is when we first met.
I think it's been about maybe a month since we first met, and then we reconnected again a couple weeks ago and decided to do this. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm getting old, and as they say, the mind's the first thing to go, after the rotator cuff, I guess. So, but Chris, why don't you you were in a relationship, and it's a relationship that did a lot of damage. You ended up having a really, really hard time finding your place after this relationship, right?
I did, yeah. And I just want to thank you too for just having me on here. I always think it's great having an opportunity just to share about our experiences in life, because you never know who has had similar experiences like that. And I'm a big proponent of mental health and awareness around it, and just the impact that it has in someone's life. I know this is just kind of one of many things that I've had to overcome in life. So I'm always more than happy to answer any questions or talk about some of the other things too that I've overcome. But yeah, this one was a doozy, and it definitely put me on to a path that I'm on now. So I met my ex-wife 6 years ago, shortly after I moved to the Denver area. I moved here. I got my master's at DU in exercise science, and things moved pretty quickly. If anyone, just being in those sorts of relationships, they typically do for women. And I ignored, looking back, a lot of red flags. And as stuff started to come to light more just in recent time with the separation and divorce, I was able to start seeing that those were actually red flags. But it took me a really long time to realize that, and to realize that I wasn't the problem and everything wasn't my fault. I was in a relationship that was very controlling in a lot of different aspects. It was very emotionally abusive. There was constant gaslighting, just overall manipulation. And there was a lot of financial control in that marriage as well. And so when it ended very suddenly, I found out that she was having an affair for a while. And just felt like the rug was kind of ripped out from underneath me. I didn't really know what to do next. And I held on to it, that relationship, and I couldn't really figure out why. And it took a lot of work within myself and kind of a journey of self discovery to realize what was keeping me hanging on. It was because there was this need created. She made me feel like I needed her to be successful in life, like I needed her to accomplish things, to be successful. And so when I finally realized that I could do things on my own, it really led me into doing what I do now. And that just alone has been really incredible for me and empowering. And really what drives me every day is just helping other people realize what is out there for them, what can help them feel more comfortable, just having the knowledge, feeling more empowered, with resources that are out there for them so they can have a plan of their own. And during that time too, I really didn't know what options I had. And I was lucky when we sold the home that we had together. I made a really great profit off of it. But I felt scared, like I wasn't going to be okay without that other person having that dual income, going to a single income. And she introduced me to someone where we both entered into a contract for home renovations, and it turned out to be a scam, and I lost everything. And so a big thing for me too is just helping people know what is out there to prevent anyone else from going through something that I went through. Having someone, that they can trust, that they can actually, make some more sound decisions when it does come to their money. But it's been hard. It's been a journey, to say the least. It hasn't been easy. I actually got sober when I was 19, so it's been 12 years now. So I definitely am very familiar with the mental health field and everything that kind of comes with that as well. So yeah, I feel very lucky to have even been introduced to Zach in the first place and to have had this opportunity. It definitely hasn't been easy though. It's always kind of an up and down. You know, with building that confidence up after something so traumatic, really two very traumatic things kind of happening so closely together. What has been really helpful for me is refinding a purpose and believing in myself has been very helpful for me. And then also just finding really supportive people in my life that I can go to when I need more help believing in myself and doing things. So I hope that kind of answered your question and what you were kind of wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Let me ask you a question here. The financial aspect. I know I hear it all the time when it comes to a guy taking over the financial reins and making sure, keeping all that close to his vest. And then when there's the separation, and this is one of the things, Chris, that you really you love to help people with, but after try to rebuild themselves. But a guy will take in and keep control of the money, or one person in the relationship will keep track and keep a hold of all the money. And that's one way to really devastate a person, isn't it? Because the other person doesn't know where that money's been tied up in. They don't know how to manage the money. They don't know what they have, what they own, what they're even paying for, which means that their credit is all behind there. These are things that you've really got to kind of maintain and keep an eye on that, regardless if there's somebody who's sitting there saying, "Oh, I've got this part, I'll take care of this." That's when you ought to sit there and go, we can do that part together.
Yeah. And that is a great point. And looking back, there's always the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but I know that was definitely something that I recognize. One of the first signs too was my personal checking account was turned into our joint account. So I had a personal savings, but I was considered selfish when I put anything in my savings account because I made less as a teacher at the time. And I couldn't cover like 50-50 with things. And so it was considered selfish of me during the holidays if I got money that I didn't put it towards the joint stuff. I put it in my personal savings, even if it was given to me, stuff like that. But even to the point where my personal, everything, my para account, my retirement accounts, every financial account or any account, I didn't even have the second step authorization to it. It was in the other person. So when we did separate, I had to get access to all of these things. And I was like, wow, there were so many things that I did not have access to even. And it was like, you're right. It blew my mind how much was out there that I had to even gain access to and get my name onto the account, or my name was on the account and I wasn't the primary contact for it, even though it was in my name and it was my money within that account.
You now are in the financial realm, in which we're not going to be talking a whole lot about what you do, but one of the things that you do like to volunteer yourself to do is talk to individuals who are finding themselves lost. I think that's probably the best way to put it, right? And especially maybe if a female is coming out of a relationship, or anybody's coming out of a relationship where somebody was using the financial means as an abuse, you like to be able to talk to them and kind of reassure them, you know what, look, that was garbage what happened, but you're not gone, you're not dead yet.
Yeah, I love talking to anyone and everyone, but especially people in that position. But I think the three biggest things that I believe in are education, inclusion, and equity. And I think everyone deserves to have the knowledge of what's out there and the access to how to do it. And that's what I believe in. And I definitely talk to a lot of people that are leaving relationships. They don't know what to do going from a dual income to a single income. And then I do talk to people who just might need a little more guidance, and they aren't necessarily experiencing that. But it really comes down to, I feel like, those three things.
Education is, it's we talk a lot, and I've talked about this with the Avery Center, a group that helps individuals after being trafficked in their life, where if someone's in this, they're standing on this ring on the ladder, and you're trying to help them get out of a bad relationship or out of that situation. If you get them out and they're down here, then they're not going to stay there. They're going to go back to at least where that bad part, that bad relationship was. But you know what? They're a hell of a lot better here than they are down here. So we need to really try to work hard. And that relationship part can help them get from here to here. That way they know that they don't have to go back to make a better living, or, to make the same living. They're rising and they can continue to go. So is education on the three things, would you be able to rank them, or are they all three the same, or is there, I don't know, exactly how to put it, but is there maybe a step 1, 2, 3 in your three things you offer?
I would say education is really top there. When it comes to equity and inclusion, I just think everyone outside of the already wealthy deserves to know what else is out there that people are using to make their own wealth. I think there's a lot of misconceptions of who goes and talks to people in my position. And so it's always good to just realize that people come in all different stages of life and different means. And I think that's just important to recognize. But it really just starts with the educational piece and having a conversation with someone.
Okay, Diamond has a great question for you.
Okay.
Thank you. So, tying it back to the helping people who are possibly in your situation or similar situation, what would you say are some of the most crucial steps that you took to regain that control, not just of your finances, but of your life, really? Like, were there any mantras or quotes that kind of like rang true in your head that like kind of gave you fuel? Or what would you say to that?
One of the like mantras or quotes is kind of weird. I don't know how I really came up with this with my therapist actually, but it was just like, just keep swimming. I don't know why it stuck with me, but it was like, I'm someone that has troubles letting go of, especially excessive thoughts, excessive thinking. And that was something for me that helped me. It was something I could at least say that would help me let go of something that I was obsessing about. And honestly, I would say the most crucial step I took to regain my control was actually cutting my ex out of my life completely. And that was hard because we had a dog together. The dog was in my name. Initially, we were rotating every week to alternate him. But that just kept a thread in my life. And I ended up giving up the dog. So she has him now, but that was probably the biggest step. And it took me a year and a half to get there, from the separation to when we were finally doing the divorce and fully cutting her out. And I would say that was the biggest thing that felt like it was actually something in my control, because I felt completely out of control that whole time, within the marriage, out of the marriage, during the separation. So that for me was where I really started to feel like I started to get my life back.
Thank you.
Okay, Patrick, please go on ahead.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, Patrick, I love your comment. The mental picture of Zach doing yoga was way too much. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I felt bad, Chris, because you were giving us this heartfelt story, and I read that comment and I couldn't help but laugh. And I realized, oh my God, you're looking like a jackass right now. Somebody's pouring out their heart, and you're laughing your ass off at a comment about me doing yoga. So, but yeah, Patrick, your question, please.
I forgot all about that. Anyway, Chris, when you're telling your story, you can you can look into your eyes and just tell like the battle that was hard fought to get to this point. Like you can see that you went through the darkness in it. And so one of the things is I, I actually deal with a lot of people that's been through abusive relationships, and actually I survived one. Well, actually three, and that were really crazy. And um, what was what are the red flags? Because a lot of times, like we think that when you're in a relationship that's abusive, right? You think that it's to everybody else, it seems like it's obvious, right? But when you're in the relationship, like you're just blinded by a lot of things, and sometimes you need to hear, all right, these are the red flags you need to be looking for. So, like there's so many teenagers out here that's been like dealing with these things. There's wives, there's husbands that's dealing with it. It doesn't it affects everybody, right? And so, what were the red flags? That's question number one. And then question number two, what was the catalyst that where you was like, all right, no, this is not for me. I need to get out of this. What was that thing that was that major mind changer? So those are my two questions.
So when it comes to red flags, and honestly, what I needed help seeing them, because I was in it for so long, and I was questioning my reality, and
Yes.
I kept going back and forth. I was gaslighting myself constantly. So one of them is just it's gaslighting. Saying something, going back on it. I got to the point for I would say a solid year where I felt like I needed a tape recorder to record conversations and be like, no, yes, you did say this to me. I know you said this to me. Stop going back on it. That would be one huge one. Blame shifting, shifting the blame automatically from one situation when it was some sort of action for them, but somehow it shifts the blame to something that I did, and putting the blame onto me. Another one that I would say is not feeling safe opening up to this person fully. When I look back, it got into this cycle of I would share what I was feeling. I would be made to feel like it was wrong to feel that way. I would feel shamed of feeling that way. I would shut down and not want to open up about it again. Until I was made to feel guilty about it, and I would open up and the same cycle would happen. So I would say like a cycle of not being able to open up to that person, just signs of it not feeling right in some sort of way. I think some of the things I said with the financial control too, where you don't have the authority even on your own accounts to get into them without the other person's phone, email to do it, especially when your name is on the account, is a big one. I mean, I have an entire notebook I did with my therapist I do not have with me right now. I mean, it's an entire sheet of the ways that I felt in that relationship that I realized just were not okay. The biggest turning point for me, and when I realized why I held on to something that I knew was not good for me. I knew whenever I let her back in my life, we started hanging out, we started getting closer again. I was anxious, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. And I knew that. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I know I don't feel great. There's all these highs, and there are also the worst of my lows when I have this person in my life. So why do I keep doing this to myself? And what I realized is she had created such a need. I felt like I needed her financially. I felt like I needed this sort of security that I kept going back, and like I wasn't going to amount to anything without having her in my life in some way, shape, or form. So when I realized that I could do it on my own, it was really having that moment of recognizing why I kept going back to something that I knew was not good for me, and having even an inkling that I could do it on my own is what helped me realize I can get out.
It's kind of a weird manipulation how it goes. I can't live without you. You know, you go from I can't live without you to, oh my God, you can't live without me. You know, how it flip flops that way. Stephanie?
Wow. I first just want to say thank you for being brave and sharing your story. I have something similar, not the same, but I'm thankful that it was many years ago before I was like, I want to say a grown up. It was a long time ago. And, you know, abuse comes in all different shapes and forms. And, you know, I just, as you're talking, I'm kind of recalling that time. It's like, wow, it was difficult to get out of that situation. But for those that might be listening, and I was going to ask about red flags, but Patrick beat me to it. You know, what kinds of things, or there anything that you did for your mental health during that time, you know, like for you to kind of stay focused and get yourself on the track that you're on today? Like, were there any resources that like popped out at you that like helped you through? Maybe somebody's listening that's going through something right now and they're like, crap, I don't know where to even turn or who to go to for help, or what, you know, where to turn. What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah. So a big thing I forgot to mention is the summer going into teaching. My ex actually convinced me to go off of my medication. Said that I was fine. I didn't need them anymore. I'm very neurodivergent, like very bad ADHD. Like I need to be on medication. I'm happy. I'm happy when I'm medicated. So I got back on medication was the first step. In doing that, I started actually seeing a therapist. I hadn't seen one, honestly, since I was going through treatment when I was 19. So I went a very long time without even having active mental health help. And it was mainly just because I have always, you know, resorted to school and work as sort of like my release in life. And so just having those, I would say my therapist and just seeking counseling again has been something huge, because having a non-biased perspective, someone who was not a friend telling me all these things, honestly, I started listening to her more than the people closest to me that were telling me all the same red flags. It was something completely different because it's like, this person does not know my ex. And, she is a professional. It felt different hearing her say, as you're talking to me, this is clinical narcissism. It felt completely different hearing it from her than it did from my friends.
Yeah.
Um, it was huge. And finally, I started to actually believe it. So that was really big for me. I'm trying to think of other resources. Honestly, I would say being social again, having positive social interactions with other people. Being I'm considered a business owner in what I do because I just, I work for myself. I have to find my own clients, so I do a lot of networking, but also just social groups like Meetup and finding people with similar interests. And the power of nature. I am just, I'm in Colorado, mountains are beautiful. And reconnecting with the things that I love doing. Because I feel like for a while I stopped doing a lot of the things that I loved. And that was really huge. And, finding myself, finding what I loved again, and feeling that happiness and relearning how to do those things without that person.
I know that, when you brought up the whole nature thing, I know that when you're starting to not want to do the things that you love the most because you think this person is going to take and ruin it for you. I know that that's probably a pretty decent red flag to kind of watch out for. Mr. Schroeder.
Let me unmute myself. Sorry. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for telling us your story. My thoughts are that what you described to me sounds very much like work or the stories that I would hear in other work that I've did decades ago. In my prior life, I worked in a domestic violence intervention program. One actually in Washington State and one in Central Florida, and I didn't hear any indication from you that there was any violence or threats of violence, but all of the things that you've talked about are power and control strategies that we identified and saw in all of the cases that we were working with. In most cases, I was working with the abusers, and we had others who were working with the victims. I guess my question was this was this ever something that you became aware of that seemed like or somebody said, hey, there's this similarity, there's this other power dynamic going on? Were there any resources from the domestic abuse intervention programs there in your area that provided any assistance to you?
I actually didn't seek any of those resources out. I think because I always minimized what I went through. I never saw it as domestic violence. It never got physical. The physicality it ever got to was she would punch things, walls, doors. It was never me throwing things, but never at me. And I think that is a great point to bring up is what do we view as domestic violence? Because I always minimized what I went through.
Right.
And I think in a way I still do, versus I find that sometimes I will say it was just emotional abuse, but that lasts. I mean, it still affects me. I still have a lot of work to unpack with what I went through in that. Yeah. So
I would suggest that if you haven't, you may find some some support and some resources in that community. The philosophy that the programs that I was working with were always that, it doesn't have to escalate to the point of violence for it to be abuse. And it's better to recognize all of these warning signs, all of these red flags, every single thing you mentioned, throwing things, breaking things, the financial control, the blaming, the isolating, all of these things were things that every one of the abusers I was working with had done prior to them reaching that point of violence. Now, there's this, I guess my point is that I think that there could be, and hopefully there is, some help from a community that's larger than what you may realize that's there in your area, that may be able to help you with your healing. And I guess I'm thinking here with our focus on mental health and suicide prevention is that I think the intervention or the awareness and being able to take steps to stop the abuse and to be healthier in how you think about yourself and the actions you take can help to prevent suicide and murder suicide, because unfortunately we see way too many of those kinds of things happening throughout our country. So
yeah, that's a great point. And one of the saddest things about it is that there's a lot of time that the emotional abuse is going to heal a lot slower than the physical.
Yeah.
Where a broken bone may go away after a while. Broken heart takes a hell of a lot longer to mend. So we unfortunately are already coming up to the top of the hour. This show is just too short. I'm telling you, it really is. But Diamond, can you ask any final questions and give us what you learned from today?
For sure. So for me, I don't think that I have any final questions, just thanks. I think that especially because of the fact that a lot of people do minimize emotional abuse, it is something that really does affect you. I recently learned that I have PTSD from something else, but I attribute the same symptoms of relationship PTSD from just the amount of betrayals and things that happen. And it is so real because it affects your trust. It affects what you're bringing into other relationships. So I'm just really thankful that you were courageous enough to come and tell your story today and to give some words of insights for anyone who might be in that same situation as you.
That's a great point. Stephanie?
I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing, because it's incredibly uncomfortable. But your reach is going to help somebody else, through your story. And I think that a lot of people, both men and women, think that, it doesn't happen that often, couldn't happen to me. And I think we really need to start sharing these stories more, because mental health is really being affected by things like this, and it's not spoken about very often. So thank you. Just thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Mr. Myers.
Man, I definitely agree with Diamond and Stephanie here about the emotional tolls and the long lasting issues that it caused. And just thank you for just talking about it and thank you for being strong to survive and get through those things. Some people don't. I didn't. I did, but it caused. I took my life because there's just certain things, and And it wasn't just necessarily that relationship, it was a lifetime of things that had happened and just accumulated. And um, so thank you, because like she's saying, like telling these things, uh, you just never know who's listening. And I can't tell you the countless times where it just takes somebody brave enough to say, "Hey, this is what I went through," and and just the ripple effect that that can have in changing people's destinies. Because one girl gets this point, right? That can change her whole family dynamic, and like generational curses are passed down, and different things. Like it just changes the whole dynamic of just generations to come, and that's impact. And so just thank you for telling your story, coming on here and just sharing it. And I'm actually interested in the financial stuff you do, so I'd like to
Cool.
talk to you.
I'll make an introduction there. So,
Thank you.
Dennis.
I think since I gave my thoughts earlier, the last comment I'd make is that I would thank you for telling the story and being vulnerable here, and it reminded me very much of what we do. I mean, I poured my guts out here, I think a long time ago with this show, but I saw a saying that I shared on social media the other day. It says, "We may impress people with our strengths, but we connect with people through our weaknesses." And I think that you have connected with people that the people who are watching this. You connected with us, I know that, but you've connected with others who are watching that you may never know.
Well, Chris, I want to take in, I want you to do me a huge favor and tell people how you can help them if they need to get a hold of you. Maybe just tell them in your own words, and this way we don't go do anything against compliance, but let them know how you're willing to help them and what you can do to help them out.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone just wants to reach out to me, my number's down there at the bottom. Yeah, if you just want to have a conversation, learn a little bit more about what I do, always happy to. The last thing I want to add, though, that I thought of a resource I did use is it is okay to ask for help. I always struggled asking for help. I did actually go in to the emergency room one night, and because I knew I wasn't okay. I actually, when I was younger, I did share I got sober when I was 19. So I've had some struggles in my life, but I did make 2 attempts on my life previously when I was younger. And this was the first time that I actually sought help on my own because I knew I didn't want to do that as a resort. So that was huge for me. I know my mom was proud because she's been through a lot with me, but it is okay to ask for help. And even if that just means going into an emergency room and saying that.
Well, I want to thank you so very much. And obviously we're coming up to the top of the hour. You're seeing everybody pop off. But Chris, I want to thank you. I really want to thank you and thank you so much for coming on. And as everybody else has stated, your bravery and your honesty and your story can do a lot to help people out. Thank you for your struggle, and most off, thank you for being here. Still being here and still being strong. And I greatly appreciate it. I really do. I think I would also like to welcome you back anytime that you wish to join us. And you want to come on as a guest host or whatever, you're always welcome. This family grows as it goes, and you know what? Your story is beneficial to somebody, and the one thing that we take pride in is that there's somebody, like was mentioned, somebody hears your story, they get out of a bad relationship. Somebody watches them get out of a relationship, gives them the courage to get out of another relationship. Dominoes. Okay, dominoes that can only fall in a positive manner, and that's the way I see this. But I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.
And please, if anybody has any need of financial rescue, give Chris a call. Okay, if you need to get her number, give me a call. You guys all know how to get a hold of me. So, from the family, we want to thank you very much for joining us. We will be back next week with another wonderful guest who has an amazing device that helps, and she's also a veteran. So, fellas, I think that you guys are going to get into this. So it's a nice little relaxation. And I know that she was talking to me before the surgery. Of course, my mind was going surgery, 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 and so that's all I could really hear. Not yoga, 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 Patrick. So don't worry. But we want to thank you all, and please remember, no matter how softly you walk, you're going to leave footprints. You're going to be missed if you're gone. So please don't take that step. If you need to talk, there's somebody out there. If you need to talk, we're out here. Every single one of us has our own story. Every single one of us has our own experience. Every single one of us is willing to talk to you if you need just an ear. So please give us a call if and we can help you try to find the right place. But my name is Zach Clayton from Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. For Patrick, for Dennis, for Chris, for Stephanie, and from Diamond, thank you. And we will see you next week. You guys, thank you so much.